Where the president's leaving Capitol Hill right now. Let's see if these are some Democratic congressmen who've shown up. They're blocking. Let's listen in.
Mr. President, don't you have kids? Don't you have kids, Mr. President? How would you like it if they took your kids?
Nielsen, how'd the meeting
Put them
go?
in cages.
Stop separating our children.
How would you guys like it if you separated your kids? It's wrong. It's not the America we know, and it's not biblical. Where did Christ say that? Show me where.
Scott, do you have that?
All right, so you see a handful of lawmakers or Democrats protesting the president as he's exiting. We're going to see what lawmakers say as they emerge from this meeting, House Republicans meeting with the president of the United States. He's heading back to the White House. He'll get in that motorcade fairly soon. How do you see it unfolding?
Look, the problem, Wolf, for the president all week, and the moral problem here is that you have the president, he and his party control both houses of Congress and the White House. They've put a policy in place, and they're dragging their feet on solving the problem. You're talking about children here, and that's why you see this kind of coming to a boil. It's not like other issues where people say, well, let's see how this plays out going forward. People are angry.
You see the president now walking through the corridor up on Capitol Hill. He's going to get closer to the cameras, closer to the reporters. I just want to listen briefly to see if he says anything as he passes by the pool of reporters who have gathered there up on Capitol Hill. He spent more than an hour meeting with lawmakers, Republican House members. We'll see what he says. Let's pause for a moment and listen.
These are laws that have been broken for many years, decades, but we had a great meeting. Thank you very much.
The president says we had a great meeting. So you saw Kevin McCarthy, the majority leader in the House, escorting the president out of the House of Representatives. Phil Mattingly is monitoring it. You've been speaking to individuals who've been inside. What else are you learning about what happened, Phil?
Yeah, Wolf, members are filing out as we speak, and the honest kind of reality here is members are actually going to the real work. Right now, House leadership is going to be whipping those immigration bills that they plan to consider later this week, with the real question being what the president just did, his hour-long presentation, is that enough to get one of the House Republican proposals across the finish line? Now, Wolf, since we last spoke, I'm told the president, as he was giving his remarks, went heavy on the wall, talking again about the need to get the wall, about the various proposals and deals that have been on the table that have so far to this point come up short, and also making clear, I'm told by one person in the room, that the family separation issue is something that can be addressed if the wall is involved. What you're hearing basically from that, at least as it's been described to me by some members, is the president's insistence that this not be a targeted or small solution when it comes to the family separation issue, but that it be addressed in a broad immigration proposal. We've heard this from the White House repeatedly. Obviously, Wolf, we know the Senate Republicans have been talking about a targeted approach to the family separation issue. The president making clear he wants a broad approach, a broad solution to this. Well, that's what Republicans are going to give him at least an opportunity to get on the House floor on Thursday, depending on where the votes are. Wolf, I'll say another interesting element of this. We've talked to a bunch of members who have come out, and as is often the case when the president speaks behind closed doors, members tend to hear what they want to hear. I've spoken to some members who believe that the president outright endorsed the compromise immigration proposal that Republican leaders have been working on. I've also spoken to a number of members who said that's not the case at all. He wasn't explicit about what he was endorsing. Here's what I do know. The president said he's behind Republicans, House Republicans, 100%. That's the quote. What he's actually behind and whether or not that's going to change at any point in the next 48 hours, that remains an open question. So, as I would note, does whether or not House Republicans can get the votes on their House immigration proposals in the next couple of days, and also what, if anything, will be done to address the family separation issue that, while the president hasn't backed off where he stands, Republicans in both the House and the Senate have made clear They need to do something to address it in the near term, Wolf.
Yeah, we saw that presidential motorcade leaving Capitol Hill, heading down Pennsylvania Avenue back toward the White House. It sounds to me, Phil, like the headline emerging is that there's going to be no change in the separation of families policy until there's comprehensive immigration reform, something that passes the House, goes to the Senate. They've got to reconcile whatever these two chambers pass, assuming they do pass something, and then the president has to sign it into law. That could take a while if it happens at all. In the meantime, moms and dads are going to be losing their kids. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, look, based on members that I've spoken to, both that were in the room while it was happening, that have filed out since, there was no impression whatsoever that the administration is going to reverse course. The family separation policy, the zero tolerance policy wasn't a primary point of the issue. There was no question and answer with the members. The focus was on a broad immigration overhaul, not a targeted fix. That is clearly where the president's mind is at. That is clearly where the administration is at. The question is, can lawmakers actually deliver that? Wolf, I think you hit the key point here. That is not just an open question at this point. That seems almost impossible based on the dynamics we've seen, not just for the last year, but for the last 10 years when it comes to immigration and how both parties view this issue up to this point, both from an emotional perspective and from a very divisive policy perspective, Wolf.
Yeah, and as the president himself says, you need 60 votes in the Senate, not just 51 Republicans. You need 60 votes to get it through.